I'll just remind everybody before we kick off, David, that I expect folk to put their, not yourself obviously, but to put their name in the group in the chat box, and I ask them to respect points of view of everybody else, so we don't get nasty. We ask questions and respect other people. So I'm absolutely delighted to have got a bit of your time tonight. Thank you very much for coming in, David.
I encourage people that doubt what I'm saying to ask me the hardest questions you can come up with.
Ideal. Okay, so I'll just hand over to you. I'll go on mute, and if everybody else who's not actually asking a question at the moment could go on mute as well, and give David free rein on that.
Let me ask a question. How many people here? Are there any people here that think we live on a spinning ball? Okay, there's one. All right. So I guess I'll do a quick run through of the basics, and then I'll kind of like toss it back. And if anybody at any point wants to interrupt me, just flag me down and ask the question, and we can go from there. Because I can talk the entire time. There's so many things, and we won't cover nearly any significant portion of it. All right. So the first thing is, what is flat Earth, right? What is flat Earth? Well, this is what most people think it is. It's a disk floating in a heliocentric model. This is a straw man, okay, a double straw man. First, it's got the heliocentric model, the globe system, which is a fake system, which we're going to find out today. And then it also has a fake idea of what flat Earth is. We're not a disk floating in space. We're not the only flat planet. The other planets aren't flat. That's just a total dead end, not what flat earthers think. What we're all programmed to think flat Earth is the dumbest thing ever. So the people that think flat Earth is stupid, they're right. Their idea of what flat Earth is really dumb. Okay? And that's not what flat Earth is. So we're gonna get into what is flat Earth, all right? So in the heliocentric model, we're spinning at, does anyone know how fast we're spinning?
66.6 thousand miles. Oh no, 1,000 miles on its axis.
Yeah. So here's a balloon shot, 120,000 feet. The Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour below, right? Where's that spin? This balloon, after 3.5 hours, came down, and it landed less than 100 miles east of where it took off. Well, the Earth is spinning to the east. So it went up and it outran the Earth and landed ahead of it, right? So that's a problem. So the 66,600 miles an hour is the orbit of the Earth, right? We're spinning and we're orbiting 66,000, which is a number nobody can fathom. You've never seen 66,000 miles an hour. You have nothing to compare it to. And we're chasing the sun at almost 500,000 miles per hour. Again, numbers that make absolutely no sense. I'll put it into context real quick. This is the hypersonic sled track. If you Google it, you can hear the noise, and it's shocking to your system. It's going by at 8.6 times the speed of sound, Mach 8.6. You have to believe, if you believe in the heliocentric system, that we are orbiting the sun 10 times faster than that. Again, something your brain is unable to process. We're chasing the sun, corkscrewing through space at 100 times faster than this, right? We can't even fathom this speed, barely, let alone double it. 100 times faster, spinning, ignoring the spin, orbiting 10 times faster. But when we go out into nature, we see things like this. What does this tell you? If you stood at on the land and snapped your foot down, ripple would go across that, right? Get a dinner plate. This is a fun little experiment. Get a dinner plate and try to walk across your room, your house with it filled with water to the rim, right? Go in a car, any speed you want, a straight, perfect, flat road. Do the same thing with the water plate, with the plate of water, and have the car speed up or slow down the tiniest bit, or take the slightest turn. That water is going to go right off the plate. Nature tells us, nature doesn't lie. Nature tells us we're not moving, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, the high priest of scientism, He says that because of the spin of the Earth, the water bulges out at the equator 14 miles high, but 14 miles compared to the size of the Earth is so insignificant that if you shrank the Earth down to the size of a cue ball, it would be smoother than a cue ball, right? Because 14 miles compared to the size of the Earth, well, that's nonsense, right? 14-mile high ball. I used to think that was the coolest thing ever. I'm like, it makes sense. The Earth is spinning, the water goes out there, right? Where's the best viewing spot of that bulge? Because it's taller than Mount Everest. Airplanes fly about 5 miles high. Well, 14,000 feet is almost 15 miles high. 14 miles high. I'm sorry, not 14,000 feet. 14 miles high, right? So when I'm flying from North America or the UK to Africa or South America, anywhere, at what point do I triple my altitude just to skim over that hump of water? Literally skim over it. Triple the altitude above where I'm supposed to be flying. The answer is that never happens. Okay? Every test throughout time has proven, every test to prove curvature or axial spin has proven the opposite, but they don't teach us that in school, right? There's many famous scientists that tried to prove that we're spinning, tried to prove that there's curvature, and they all failed, right? So what is flat Earth then if it's not a disk in space? Well, they tell us flat Earth, they tell us the globe, that Antarctica is at the bottom of the globe, and it's about 10 to 13,000 miles in circumference if you wanted to sail around it, about 10 to 13,000 miles. Why is it 10 to 13? Why can't they figure that out yet? And the answer is because this isn't how Antarctica is. Every high altitude, quote unquote, satellite image of Antarctica is a cartoon. Arguably, I'm not just saying they're cartoons, they're cartoons. There's some imagery of stuff going along the shoreline of Antarctica, but all the center of Antarctica is never been imaged. Why is that? Right? And the answer is because Antarctica isn't a continent at the bottom of the ball, right? We live in the Antarctic basin. What does that mean? Right? A pond, a lake is in the low spot in the land, and the land is higher than the water consistently all the way around. That creates a shoreline. Lower the land, and the water will flow elsewhere. Well, Antarctica, they tell us, is the highest land on Earth. Okay. It's the container. It gives our oceans the lateral pressure. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat, testably, scientifically, measurably, provably flat. If we live on a ball of whatever size, this big or 24,901 miles around, which they tell us it is at the equator, there is a measurable curvature, and there's a formula for that, right? So on a ball the size that they tell us, at 3 miles, there's 6 feet of curvature. At 100 miles, there's 6,600 feet of curvature. At 10 miles, there's 66 feet of curvature. Well, these are things that we can actually look and measure, right? When I first heard about flat Earth, besides just banning people from our social media for even suggesting that I look into it, I was finally forced to look, and I kept seeing these ships over the horizon being zoomed in and brought back into view. I'm like, wait a minute. If a ship goes over a horizon, this is a ship, and it disappears behind a physical, behind a physical curve, right? Zooming in would not bring it back in because you have a physical curve right here. This is a physical horizon, but our horizon's not physical. It's optical. Okay. So here's this I'm looking for. Thank you. So let's talk about that. When we look into the distance, imagine yourself out on a beautiful day. You got some white fluffy clouds. They're 5,000, 10,000 feet, and they're all kind of sitting there on that cloud deck. And if you have a spot where you can see 20, 30 miles away, those clouds literally touch the horizon. Now, you and I know they're not touching the horizon. They go away and they just become to the point where they meet. That's your optical horizon. You can't see beyond that. Unless you have a super zoom camera, you can zoom in increase that size, and then you can go out farther before it comes back together, right? The angular resolution limits of our eyes. Let's put that into context. Out here, we have a horizon, no boat out there, and I'm zooming in, increasing my angular size. Oh, and look, there's a boat, right? These little waves in the foreground will become bigger than that boat as I zoom out. So these little waves here will hide the boat, just like my finger can hide the boat. And the boat will disappear from the bottom up because of an optical effect, not because of physical curvature. This has been done with infrared cameras now. We have one guy, Jay Tolan Media, who has infrared. He's seen hundreds of miles, and from an airplane, he's seen over 1,000 miles. The amount of curvature there is beyond question. I mean, we're talking dozens of miles of curvature, right? Here is, let me just show you another one real quick. Where is it? This is a viewing spot in Illusia, France. Where is it? Sorry about that. So out in Illusia, France, there's a spot where you can look out and you can, and 175 miles away is Mount Canigou. And from that viewing spot at 175 miles, the top of Mount Canigou should be more than a half a mile below the curvature. Well, guess what? We can't see Mount Canigou. Earth must be a ball, right? Do you see me, or do you see the light that's bouncing off of me? The answer is, of course, you see the light that's bouncing off of me. Provable. Turn off all the lights in my room. You just see a black screen. You don't see me. Now, you see the light that's bouncing off me. I have a light right in front of me. That light is brighter than the light that's bouncing off of me. We can all agree on that. Okay? So twice a year, as the sun migrates between the two tropics, the sun lines up with Mount Canigou and that viewing spot. The sun's light is much brighter and can push through the atmosphere, where the reflected lesser, duller light of the mountain just being lit can't push through 175 miles, and the light doesn't get to you. But twice a year, when the sun lines up, here's Mount Canigou. It's not a mirage. The very top right there where the mouse is should be over a half a mile below the curvature. Do you want to hear the globe excuse for that? Well, the mountain is below the curvature, and the sun has already set. It's just refracting up and magically stopping at eye level. And all of the points in front of it are also magically stopping at eye level. Okay? Well, the stuff closer to you would have to refract less, and farther would have to, the globe Earth is conspiring to fool every one of your senses that the Earth is flat, or maybe the Earth is flat. Okay? Common sense tells us the Earth is flat. Nonsense tells us otherwise. Here's a shot where we know the distance. This is a fixed rig. It's 9.4 miles away. It doesn't sound like that far, but from 1 foot off the ground, according to globe math, there should be 59 feet of curvature. Not only is there not 59 feet of curvature, we can see the water surface for dozens of miles beyond it. And we can see the water in the foreground too, which should also be below. The horizon from 1 foot off the ground, the surface of the water, if it's nice and calm, should drop behind that physical ball at 1.22 miles away. If the Earth was a globe the size they tell us. So you have two options. The Earth is 1,000 times bigger than they tell us, or it's flat, just like all natural science tells us. We've been indoctrinated from before we can talk. We watch Sesame Street. They have astronauts on there. All of these cartoons are all space related. The first worksheet we bring home from school is the orbits of the planets and the sun and the moon, right? The indoctrination at the front of all of our classes, or at least they used to be, there was a big globe, and they show us where we live, right? And they swing water around in a bucket and say that's gravity. And that happened to me in kindergarten or first grade. Teacher's swinging the bucket around. Everyone's like, oh, and he's like, well, that's what gravity is. I said, wait a minute. Aren't we on the outside of the ball? This is as a first grader. I said this. Aren't we on the outside of a ball? Wouldn't the water Wouldn't you have to turn the bucket the other way so the water's on the outside? And the teacher goes like this, gets his book, shows me the highlights. He goes, this is how I'm taught to teach it. This is how I'm going to teach it. Your teachers aren't liars. They're indoctrinated. The ones that memorize and regurgitate the nonsense the best, they become the teachers of the next generation. So people say, what's so big conspiracy? What, millions of people, all teachers, pilots, scientists, they're all in on it? No. They're just really good at memorizing and presupposing the Earth is a globe. So where do I go from here? Anyone have a question at this point? And then, like, let me run through seasons. I'm having a little issue trying to show my app, which is a great demonstration, but let's see if this holds up. So the sun, whoops, there we go. So the sun goes around once a day. It's a clock. It's an hour hand, right? You know what they did? They said, hey, let's give them clocks, but we'll make the hour hand go around twice every 24 hours so they never figure out that they're living on a big clock. Okay. Wherever the sun is, it's noon. My friend PK right here in Australia, it's noon for him. Well, now it's afternoon, right? It's midnight for me. I'm over here. Sun's rising in the UK. Not rising here yet. Okay. And it goes around. And as I jump the sun forward month at a time, so November, December, in December, the sun is all the way out here on this yellow line, Tropic of Capricorn. It takes 6 months to go out and 6 months to go back. Okay. The equinox, the equator, is in the middle. It passes the equator twice, but it only touches the solstices once a year. So right now, it's morning in Australia and it's summer and it's hot because the sun goes directly over Australia. Over here, Florida in the United States, it's really hot in Florida, but it's winter, but it's still hot because Florida's way down here, pretty close to where the sun goes, right? It's hot in Australia because the sun is directly above them. But 6 months later, the sun migrates all the way back into the Tropic of Cancer, and that's when we have our summer because the sun is close. So imagine you're outside and you're looking at streetlights. So a big row of streetlights all the way down a straight road. Now those streetlights will go down, down, down. Let me show you an example, actually. Those streetlights will go down. Here we go. And they'll look like they're going down and merging with the horizon, but we know in our mind that they're all the same height. This is how we see it visually, but we're told and we could reason because we've walked up and down the street, they're all at the same height. Okay. So that's the same thing that the sun does. The sun just goes away and it looks like it's getting lower due to perspective.
Can I ask a question at this point, David?
Yeah.
In relation to the sun spinning down to Capricorn and back up to Cancer and so on and so forth, if it's on that flat plane, then the sun has a shorter distance when it's round Cancer than it has when it's round Capricorn, does that mean it has to speed up to get round the spiral? Well,
it does speed up because in the south, out near Capricorn, in many places, the sun, it gets light really fast, and after sunset, 5 minutes later, it's pitch black. Certain times of the year. Okay, so that's because it is moving faster. But don't think of the sun as a giant burning ball of gas in a space vacuum because that's just silly, right? The sun that we see, and we'll get into that in a moment, is here within our atmosphere. It's not physical, if you ask me. Okay, it's the projection of the source of the sun, which we can get into, right? But it's moving. So I'll show you an example in a moment of how we see an apparent sun. But think of it this way. If I'm standing and I'm holding a flashlight and I'm pointing it 3 feet in front of me on the floor, okay? Actually, let me do this now because this will be good. So here we have, this is my sky sheet, right? And 10 feet behind it, I have a flashlight, and it looks like the sun, right? The flashlight actually has a square lens, but it looks round. Interesting. Okay. And my girl Paige is to the left. I say, where do you see the sun? She says, I see it right there. So if I drew on this sheet, the sky sheet right there, I'm seeing the sun over here. She's seeing the same sun over there. We're both seeing an apparent sun. We're seeing the same thing, but in two different positions. Okay. So now imagine we have that sheet, just for a small scale, a foot above the floor, hovering above the floor. And we're a tiny little person underneath that sheet. Okay. And we're looking up. The blue sheet is the sky. And I'm standing up here 6 feet up in the air, and I have a light, and I'm shining it, I'm shining it 3 feet from me. And I spin around. And it takes me 1 minute to spin around. Well, I just drew a circle. Anybody underneath that sheet is going to see the sun move around, and it's going to do a 3-foot radius circle, right? Okay, 3-foot radius circle. So now all I do is point it 6 feet away, and I spin around at the same speed. It just made a 12-foot radius circle. Okay, before it made 6 foot, now it made 12 foot, 6 and 6, right? And I spun at the same speed, but the apparent sun went twice as fast. There's plenty of evidence of the sun moving faster in the south because of the speed that it goes away. And we have in the summer when the sun is over Cancer, the sun sets. For me here, we're about at the same latitude. It's light for another 90 minutes or 2 hours, right? When the sun's over Capricorn, in certain places that have hills and valleys, it's pitch black in 5 minutes. Should be the same, right? If the Earth is a ball and we're tilted, 66.6 degrees, equal latitudes north and south, 6 months apart, should have the same weather, should have the same animal life, should have the same plant life. But that's not the case, right? At 60 degrees north up in Alaska, Norway, there's animals, plants, people, there's all sorts of stuff. At the same degrees south, there's nothing. Maybe it's 65 degrees, I forget. But if you compare north to south, 6 months apart, they should have the same weather, but they don't.
But surely there's a bit of difference in the weather because of the amount of water there is. I mean, 60 degrees north, you're pretty well all landmass around. 60 degrees south, you've got huge oceans in between. So that would also account for differences in temperatures, weather conditions.
That's what they say. But I mean, we have expanses of ocean here in the north, between America and Europe. There's pretty big ocean areas, and we have these lingering sunsets. But at equal degrees south, we have these super fast sunsets.
Yeah. But it doesn't account for the plant and animal life that you were talking about, because you have the North Atlantic drift, which allows the northwest of Scotland, for instance, to have.
What about on Antarctica? What about on Antarctica? Antarctica is land, and there's not a tree, plant, or anything. Nowhere. I mean, that's what they tell us. And again, it's off limits. No one is allowed to independently explore there. So, Antarctica has nothing, and equal land masses in the north have everything. So, again, these are what I call a preponderance of evidence, right? I want to go to Antarctica and have free reign to be able to explore, but that's not allowed. No one's allowed. No one's allowed to go there. You guys are familiar with the Antarctic Treaty, right? No?
Sorry, yes, we're on mute. Yes, we're the pleasure of Ian's company a couple of weeks back.
Right. So think about this. Antarctica, they discover that there's no plants, no animals, no wildlife, just some penguins, and it's filled with resources: coal, oil, uranium, gas, whatever, oil and gas, natural gas. And it's bigger than the United States that no human has ever set eyes upon. But we're having wars for resources and power, energy. And all the nations in the world signed the Antarctic Treaty. Nobody can go there. Okay? 12 nations signed it at first, and now all the major nations have signed it. Nobody can go to Antarctica. Right? This is the TSA at the Dallas International Airport. Look at the TSA's guarding. It looks like they're guarding the ice wall. It's kind of weird. Kind of odd.
We've got another question. You said you wanted questions in between there.
Go for it.
Yes, Sarah's got a question.
Yes, so if you think the sun might be a projection, presumably you think the moon is a projection as well.
Well, go ahead, finish your question.
Yeah, but obviously there's a huge energy that comes from both of them. So how does that work? Because I think we're a big magnet personally, but...
Well, again, anything above where we can reach or beyond the shoreline of Antarctica is speculation. And there's lots of evidence, science, experiments we can do that could corroborate it, that don't rule it out. The only thing that's ruled out is the distances and sizes of all the planets and stars that they give us. We'll get into that in a moment, where heliocentric space is scientifically impossible on so many levels. It's all you really need to understand that we don't live on a globe. So I'll explain about the moon. Again, the moon is the biggest mystery of all. I mean, the women's reproductive cycles are tied to the moon. How does a rock 250,000 miles away falling around the Earth affect reproductive cycles? Okay, it's nothing like they tell us. And if you look at the moon during the day, it looks like there's blue behind it. And if you look at it at night, it looks like there's black behind it. Right? So here's the moon in the UK and Australia, and at night those craters are black, and at the day they're blue. And if you go out like today, it's too late for you guys, the moon is just in front of the sun, and you can see that there's blue sky behind it. Right? You believe that the moon is reflecting sunlight off of its dusty, dirty surface and comes back so bright it can penetrate our daylit sky and plant itself inside of our atmosphere for the way we see it? Makes no sense. Where's the light? This is like midday, right? But this actually looks more reflective than the moon that they told us about. How come this isn't casting light? I mean, I can go out on a full moon night in the middle of nowhere and read a book, cast my shadow on the ground. How does reflected light off of a dusty, dirty surface travel 250,000 miles, ignoring the inverse square law of light, and cast a shadow on the ground?
So I went, I watched the sun going down on the 8th of October. I was up at the top of a really big hill, and it went, I watched it going down. And the other side of the hill that was below the, top of the hill was a massive full moon. And I thought, well, where is the light source coming from?
Well, the heliocentric model will say that the Earth just isn't perfectly in line and the light goes by and it's lighting up the moon. But there's a week every month. And this month was very strange, where the moon is half lit. The sun set over there. The moon's over here. But this side of the moon was lit. The sun went down over there.
Yeah.
The moon's over here, and this side is lit. That makes no sense in the heliocentric model at all. Okay. So let's talk about sunsets for a moment. So people say, well, the sun, it would get smaller on a flat Earth as it goes away. And the answer is, well, it kind of does, but there's a lot of optical stuff going on. One, as the sun goes away, its perspective is pushing it down. The atmosphere is magnifying it, and your perception of what you're seeing isn't real. right? You ever see the full moon on the horizon and it's gigantic? You're like, wow, look at that moon, right? You've all experienced that, yes? A little head nod, okay?
Yeah.
Then you take a picture of it, and you look at the picture and go, huh, it's tiny. How come the camera can't take a picture of it? Try this. Sounds weird. Not a weirdo, just listen. Turn around, put your back to the moon, separate your legs, bend over, and look at the moon upside down through your legs. It will be tiny. You're going to see this big moon, turn around upside down and look at it. It will be tiny because you're short-circuiting the way your brain is interpreting what you're seeing. Sounds crazy. Didn't believe it until I did it myself. Okay? When you see this giant moon on the horizon and then a couple hours later it's up in the sky and it's so much smaller, well, you can measure it. Like you put your thumb out and go, okay, I'm blocking it, or maybe my finger blocks it at arm's length. And then later you do the same thing. It's the same measurement. It's all how our brain sees things. Okay? Actually, let me show you how our brain interprets things. This is gonna blow your mind. You ready? So this is a parabola. This is shorter, this is longer. It's just cut and it's done to perspective. Now, it looks like it's turning back and forth like this, but it's actually spinning around. But your brain will not let you see the smaller side come around. It's literally spinning in a circle right now. But your brain won't let you see it. So how can we break the illusion? Well, what if we put a pen through the hole, right? A pen that has a cap on one side and you can see it. So we're going to put the pen through the hole, right? Got a little piece of tape on it. And we're going to stick it in there. And when it spins around, you think the pen will break the illusion? You think it would, right? It's going to spin around. It's not going to go back and forth. And watch what your brain does. Watch what your brain does. Ready? He's spinning the line up. Now he's going to let it spin. It's spinning in a circle. So when you're looking up at the sky and you're telling me, you're seeing this and that, unless you can touch it and measure it, your brain cannot figure out what the heck is going on here. Okay? You see what I'm talking about? How about this? Are these tables the same width and the same dimensions? Probably no. But when we put this little measure on it, it's exactly the same. And now that I showed you, can you unsee that it's different? You can't. Your brain, even though I just showed you, they're exactly the same width and dimension. You can't undo what your brain is processing. Really crazy, right? Let's talk about sunsets for a second. So let's talk about perspective. I created my flat earth kitchen. So here's my counter, goes all the way down. This line here is a level line, and I'm moving my sun across the line. Now we're viewing it from a celestial perspective, an elevated perspective. And I can see that the sun is moving straight and level. Now this could be mountains, a city skyline, cloud deck, whatever. We're above it. It's opaque. We didn't go below it. This is level. Now I got a camera, a terrestrial camera on the counter from where I started. And we're going to look at it from that point of view. Look at this. If I showed you this first and said, is this line level? You would say, no, it's going down about a 45-degree angle. And I'd say, is this sun going below this thing that looks like it's about my eye level? And now I'm zoomed in. Look at this line. This is a level line. This sun is not going behind this. And this is not at eye level, even though it looks like it is at eye level. And here is my flat earth kitchen sunset versus a real sunset. What's the sun going behind right here? What's it going behind? What is that? It's going beyond something that is above your eye level that your brain is interpreting as eye level. This is the atmospheric deck of opacity. Atmospheric deck of opacity. It's just going beyond. Most of the time, people are seeing stuff go behind land, houses, city skylines, trees, because those trees are above your eye level. Mountains above your eye level. But when you're away from them, everything comes down to appear to be at eye level. So when something's at eye level, what appears to be at eye level, and something goes away, it disappears from the bottom up. And it's not really going below it, but it's how your brain sees it. Right? So what happens if you have a celestial view? Okay. So here it is. That's not the one. This is the one. So I've got my drone up. The sun went up here. It went down, 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 down in 5 minutes. And then it should just keep on going, because if we're spinning, it should keep on going, but it didn't. It went down, 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 and then it stopped here. Now this is sped up. It sat here for 10 minutes. My friends over here at the beach, sun already set 10 minutes ago. I'm still looking at the sun. What's it doing? It's moving away where its light, its energy can no longer reach my eyes. It's still there, but its light, just like sound, if you were a mile away from me, you couldn't hear me because the sound spreads out, gets weaker and weaker, and that's it. Light does the same thing. Light years, light traveling for billions and trillions of years, nonsense. I filmed this 7 different times, and the globe trolls go, it's out of focus. Yeah, some of them are a little out of focus because I'm really zooming in. Use a solar filter. I'm not measuring the size here. I'm not telling you the size of the sun. I'm showing you how it stops going down. That's the important part. It stops going down, and then it fades away. That only happens on a flat Earth. Okay? Here's a little example. So here I have, where is it? Where is it? Here it is. Okay. Here I have a glass dome sitting on a white carpet, and I'm just bringing a light across in a straight line. The light's over here, but look inside. There's this little sun inside, and it's going down, down, down. It never goes below the bottom. It just stops and fades out. I'm going to come back. We're going to watch. The sun's going to appear on the horizon. There it is. It's going to come. It's going to ride up. I'm just bringing the light across. This is what I call our personal atmospheric dome of vision. It goes, and then it stops, and it fades out. What do you think about that? The optics of the sky are crazy. We're at a conference, and Chris Pontius has his models there, and I'm just moving my iPhone light above it, and it looks amazing in person. There literally looks like there's a perfect-looking sun floating in free space in here. Now, I'm not claiming anything. I'm just saying this looks exactly like what we see in the sky. Fascinating. If you have a dome like this, get a light, put it over it, move it around, you're going to be like a kid. You're going to be playing for hours and be like, what the heck is going on?
Okay, let me ask the daft question then.
Go.
And this is, I know there's not going to be an obvious answer to this, but how does it get back around to the east to come back up again if it's just sort of floating back and forth?
Very good. That's a great question, and we will answer that for you right now as I'm stalling, looking for my proper video. Here we go. So here we have the flat Earth. In the center, I have a magnet. North Pole. Everything out here is south. I'm pushing this boat, plane, compass. I'm trying to push it west. West is 90 degrees to the arrow that has to point to the north. I'm going west. West is a circle. East is a circle. That needle has to point north. And so east is a circle. Now watch. If I try to go west, I'm going to not correct myself, right? That's west before I start moving. As soon as I start moving, if I don't correct to the west, I'm heading south. South is when you have your back to the north and you're walking away. South is that way. South is that way. South is that way. South is that way, right? On a flat earth, if you go south, you keep going. On a ball, if I go south, I should pop up over here. I should cross Antarctica and pop up over here. If I go south from Santiago, I should pop up in Australia. Never been done. Now I'm going, watch. I'm going north, north, north. Oh, look, compass just did a 180. I'm going south. Every straight line is south, 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 south. South is everywhere. Everywhere. So east and west are circles around the lake.
Yeah.
That doesn't prove the earth is flat, by the way, because it's the same thing on a globe. Go ahead.
No,
Russ?
no, that's me. I hadn't added up all the bits to get there. Sorry about that.
I'm curious. Russ is listening. Do you have any questions, Russ?
No, I was just, I will at the end, but I was just agreeing with exactly what you were saying then about that doesn't prove it's flat Earth, because on the globe it would do exactly the same thing on that.
However, think about this. On a globe, if you're a mile from the North Pole, and so your compass is pointing to the north, basically you have a string tied to yourself. East and west are equidistant circles from the North Pole. So I'd have to remain 1 mile from the North Pole. I can go west and come right back. So what is that? 6.28 miles later, I'm right back to where I started from. And I never changed off of my heading of 270 or 90, right? Okay. The farther out you go, and I would notice that turn, like, hey, I'm turning to the right. But when you go out 100 miles, 200 miles from the North Pole, you're not gonna, if you're on a track that was 500 miles around, you'd think you were driving straight. You can agree with that, right? So you always have to correct when you're going west. In the north, you always have to correct to the right, to the north. But on the equator, right? So here we are. So I'm up here. I have to correct. I have to keep turning. On the equator, I don't have to correct anymore. I can go straight and make it all the way around, right? On the equator, you don't have to correct to the north because the equator is equidistant all the way around from the north. So you're walking all the way around and you never have to correct to the north. What happens when you go south of the equator on the globe? You now have to start correcting to the south, right? So if I'm at the north and I want to head west at the North Pole, I'm a mile from the North Pole, I got to take that hard right turn. If I'm a mile from the North Pole, South Pole, if there was a South Pole, I would have to take a hard turn to the left. You follow? Okay. Well, there are many testimonies from Navy ship captains that say when they're trying to dead reckon east or west in the south, they constantly have to correct to the north. Wasn't there, didn't see it myself, just hearing testimony. I have a perfectly good
analogy.
Well,
it's the same analogy, like a NASCAR circuit, for example. If you on a banked track at a certain speed, you don't have to steer. But if you're going slower, you have to steer one way. If you're going faster, you have to steer the other way.
That's not a good analogy. I'm sorry. I know what you're saying. It's absolutely true, but it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. When you're on a ball, well, you can't live on a ball, so it's really hard for me to imagine that. But
it is the same like a bank because it's banked. That's the reason.
It's not banked. When you're on the globe, when you're magically stuck to the side of a globe, you walk straight, right? And you don't have to correct to north. Here, if I walk straight, I'm going to end up in the South Pole. So I have to constantly correct to the north to maintain that circle. Okay? I have to constantly correct to the left when I go this way. Here, I'd have to constantly go the other way to maintain. Because if I corrected to the left, I'd end up in the north. again, hard concepts to source out, but get a globe, get a ball, figure it out, run some lines, do it. You'll see what I'm talking about. I've done this. And if you do it, you'll be like, okay, well, prove to me that you have to correct to the south in the south. You do. And the question is, prove to me that ships and planes don't. So I have a very simple test, which would absolutely prove that we live on a flat Earth and that nobody's done yet, and it wouldn't cost that much, right? And we're allowed to do it. Like people say, well, let's go to Antarctica and see what's out there. You're not allowed to. The resources for that are just astronomical, and you're not allowed to. They won't let you. But we can get an airplane in the south, anywhere south of the equator. The farther south, the better. And you guys know about gyros, right? Gyros hold rigidity in space. So an airplane on the runway fires up a gyro, and that's to the horizon. It's on a 3-axis gimbal. So as the plane turns, the gyro stays rigid with its original orientation. Right. So flying over a globe, that gyro needs to rotate, but it doesn't. That's a whole nother issue. But you could put the gyro upright, spin it up where it's pointing east and west. Okay. Then we get in an airplane, and you ignore GPS, you ignore the magnetic compass, you follow the gyro, which holds rigidity in space. And that will take you on a straight line. And what you will find is that the Earth will peel away in the wrong direction in the south. It'll prove that the Earth is flat. If you're new to this, I probably just completely lost you. But anybody we need a decent sized airplane and commercial equipment and stuff, and scientists that want to do this, I think it's an indisputable proof.
David,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that if it went in a predicted way. All it would do otherwise is prove that it wasn't the size that we were told.
Oh, so you're saying for you, it'll prove, okay, they were wrong about the size of the globe. If they're wrong about the size of the globe, they're wrong about every other astronomical measurement.
I agree.
Okay? Right?
Completely agree.
You believe we went to the moon?
Nope.
Well,
actually, yes, I believe we went to the moon.
Oh,
no,
boy.
I don't believe the footage. No, I don't believe the footage they showed us is real.
So you're you used to be like me. We went to the moon, but they're hiding the real footage, right? They don't.
Well, they made that footage in Nevada. But yeah.
Right. The moon is not a real place. Anybody else? Any other questions? There has to be questions. Did I fully explain? Let me just finish on seasons. So imagine two people. So think about this. Sunlight's coming in straight, and that's where it's hot, the hottest, but it's coming in straight. But when the sunlight comes in to the north, it's covering a bigger area, and so it's more diluted, and that's when we have our winter. When we're tilted towards that sunlight, it's summer, and when we're tilted away, that light spreads over a bigger area. That's how they tell us seasons work. Okay? What about sunrise and sunset? If you can tilt the ball this way, you can tilt it this way too. So when the sun is on the horizon, that's an 89.9 degree tilt. The most severe tilt ever. Let me ask you a question. When's it warmer? In the summer, like an hour after sunrise, or in the winter at noon? The answer is, at least for me, it's warmer in the summer. Okay? But that's the most severe tilt possible. The sun is 3.5 million miles farther than it is in the winter. And I can get a tan. I can feel that heat. I can wear shorts and a t-shirt. In the winter, in December, I can go out at noon. The sun is pretty high in the sky compared to sunrise in June. I can look at the sun. I can't even feel the heat. And it's 3.5 million miles closer. This is how seasons work. Russ, let's say you and I are out in a field, frozen solid. It's friggin' freezing, 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're sitting 20 feet apart because, you know, we got to keep our social distancing. And we're trying to drink our beers, but they're frozen, right? But then Mary comes in and she's got a big pole, 10-foot pole, because she's got to keep her distance. And she's got a big solar lamp, a big heat lamp, and she's holding it 15 feet above your head. And it's radiating heat down. And all the snow around you melts and your beer melts. And you're looking over at me, you're going, ha ha, and you're drinking your beer. And I'm freezing. And I say, Russ, point to that sun, point to that heat lamp. And you go, well, it's right up there. It's directly up there. And I'm like, well, I see it. It's over there. You see it up there. I see it lower in the sky. It's still 15 feet in the air above you. I can barely feel the heat. I'm freezing. I'm shivering. My beer's frozen. So then Mary walks over to me nice and slow. Takes her 6 months, actually. And she comes over. And as I watch, I'm looking at that. And it's getting higher and higher and higher in the sky. And when it's over me, I could take off my coat. I could drink my beer. You're watching the sun. It's going down. It's going down. It's still 15 feet in the air the whole time. Going back and forth. That's how seasons work. Optics make it look down, make it look lower. The closeness of that energy source, right? You know, I used to be in the solar power business. I had a solar power development company. You know that scientists don't know how solar panels work? They have a theory that a photon is born in the middle of the sun, takes 1 billion years for it to reach the surface. What? Right? And then it takes 8.5 minutes for it to get to Earth. And then it crashes into the solar panel, knocks a boron molecule out, and then an electron jumps in its place. And it does this again and again, and it creates a current. That's a theory. In reality, solar panels are just collecting electricity. The sun is electric. It's sending electricity down here. We're electric beings. This world is electric. Plants are electric. It's all electrical. Everything is electrical. And it's just collecting that electrical energy and putting it into a current. And that also has to do with why we don't float away, right? Because we don't believe in gravity. Gravity is a theory. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson says himself, I don't know what it is. You know, when you have a theory, like, hey, I've got a theory. I've got a theory that 3 cents is $1. 3 cents is $1. Well, look, Dave, you can't go to the dollar store because they're not going to give you anything for 3 cents. Right? Well, you know what I'm going to add to my theory? There's 97 cents of dark pennies and dark energy pennies. Okay? I'm going to add that to my theory. So now I have $1. I'm going to give you 3 physical pennies, and I'm going to give you 97 dark matter pennies that you can't see, touch, or measure. And now give me my products. Okay? That's called pseudoscience. That's called nonsense. Okay? So what is electricity? What is electricity? That's a good question. What is gravity? Okay? Well, there's some things we could do. This is called the 3-body problem. I'll just show you this first. And this is scientists cannot calculate what 3 bodies will do in orbits. They go into random modes and they can't guess what they're going to do next. No supercomputer in the world can figure it out. But somehow Neptune has, Jupiter, or is it new? What do they say? Neptune or Jupiter has like 80 moons now, they're saying. 80 moons there, moons here, planets, suns. All of that is being held together and it works like a perfect clock. Resets all the time. We can figure out what it's going to do forever, and it's all being held together by gravity. And when there's planetary alignments, nothing changes. The sun can hold on to Mercury and Venus and Earth and Mars and Saturn and Jupiter all the way out to Pluto. And Pluto and Neptune change places every couple centuries or whatever it is, right? And then the moons that are going around everything ignore the sun's gravity and just hold on to the Earth. Okay. This is insanity. This is absolute and total nonsense. So, oh, there's no gravity. What can we do? What can we do? What is going on here? Here is this Russian guy built this thing, and it floats in the air when he puts current in it. It just floats in the air, right? Let's look at another one. Here's a little experiment that one of our guys did. Oh no, this is different. This, we're putting a negative charge into here, and it goes up and away. The Earth has a neutral or negative charge. Everything in the air, the sky, is a positive charge. So when you lift something up off the Earth, it wants to go down because it's surrounded by a positive charge, and the Earth is negative, and the Earth is not moving. But when we make it negative, it goes up, right? So what's the opposite of that? We got these helium balloons holding this wire. We got just a button here, and it's neutrally buoyant, like an inch or two off the floor. Okay, this wire goes to a Van de Graaff generator, and we're just going to change the electrical field. We're adding a positive charge. Why did it go down? Gravity? Discharge goes back up. Seems like there's an electrostatic force at play here, right? Here is MIT created the silent drone, no moving parts. They're just changing the electrostatic field. I believe we have this technology in transport vehicles that they just don't share with us. This thing flies with no moving parts and no sound. They're just starting to let us know this technology that they have. Just starting, right? The secret space program is the secret propulsion program, right? The outer space is beyond Antarctica, right? If we look, what if the world is set up like this? We live here. This is our pond. A couple thousand miles over, maybe there's more ponds with more lands, and they all have their own local sun, right? Here's a map that was, whoops, not what I needed. This, nope, wrong one, hold on. Where'd it go? There it is. So this was found in some Buddhist temple, 10th century old map, was published in Hawaiian Gazette, I believe. And it shows all of these other continents. Maybe this is how our world is set up. Maybe. I want the right to go explore beyond this line. No one's allowed to go out here. It's guarded by 8 military bases, UN controlled, Crown controlled, all around the world. Remember the Falkland Islands War? It's a big military base there because that's where they stop anybody from going beyond 60 degrees south. There's a whole bunch of places. What is out there? Okay. Right? Here is let me see if I can show you this. So, they tell us Antarctica has penguins, and these penguins, they swim really far for their food. They can go about, I think it's 500 miles. And so on the flat Earth map, on this map, hold on. I have another map. Hold on. All right. So this is the globe map, and you got Antarctica here. It's just laid out, right? It makes sense that the penguins could maybe go here. That's about as far as they can go. But these same penguins are found in New Zealand, I think Australia, and over in Johannesburg, or out here. Okay. Well, that's way too far for them. But if we look at it on this old map, which is kind of hard to see, they're all really close to Antarctica, to the shoreline of Antarctica. Penguins prove the Earth is flat. So what if the world, and how about this? you know, the United Nations logo is the flat Earth map. This is the new United Nations logo. The United Nations in, I think it's in Africa. Pretty weird. What's going on there? So here we are. This is unknown. What's out here? Is it all frozen for really far away? I don't know. I don't know. Again, not claiming to know. I just want the right to go out there and look. So what if the world is set up like this? We live here. Here's Antarctica. This is several thousand miles, right? If you look at the United States, about 3,000 miles. That's like 3,000 miles there. Okay. So this isn't just like a little sandbar, right? What's this? What are these? Right? What are those? What land is that? Right? What if the world is like this? Right? Let me ask you a question. If we lived here and there's extra territory out here, extra terra, if somebody lived there and came to visit us here in this inner space, what would you call them? Anybody? Muted, Mary. Extraterrestrial. And where'd they come from?
The other land.
The outer space.
No, there isn't an outer space.
Well, the outer space.
Yeah.
The outer area. So they're telling us.
Yeah.
Right? So think about this. This is one. All right, let me show you this first, and then remind me to talk about the Arctic and the Antarctic. What if we live here in this pond and there's these other ponds over here, right? This is 5, 10, 20,000 miles away, whatever it is, okay? These are all other ponds. So they're all here across the plane, physically possible, right? Versus once upon a time, there was nothing. It exploded and became everything. Then the rocks started falling together because they stuck together and created gravity. And then all of the gases started collapsing on themselves and became even bigger balls. And then there was so much gravity from the gas that it turned into a nuclear furnace. And it left a vacuum, void, no pressure in between. So now we have burning balls of pressurized gas in a vacuum holding on to other rocky balls, okay? There is nothing in the world that supports this. There's everything in the world that says this is scientifically impossible, right? Closest star, 4.5 light years away, 25 trillion miles. Russ, I'm going to pick on you. Unmute yourself. How long? 25 trillion miles. The U.S. is in more debt than that. That doesn't sound that far. Okay. How long is 1 trillion seconds, Russ? And don't say 1 trillion seconds. 1 trillion seconds is
something like 2,000 years. Or
very, very close. 31,000 years. Okay. So 1 trillion seconds. So 1 trillion miles. If I was traveling at a mile per second, no one's ever gone that fast. And I traveled for 31,000 years through an scientifically impossible space vacuum, void. I am only 1/25th of the way to the closest star, and the other ones are magnitudes farther. 4.5 light years, 25 trillion miles. 31,000 years. If I was going 100,000 miles an hour, you can't imagine what that speed is. It would take me 28,000 years to get to the closest star. Scientific impossible Narnia nonsense, outer space. This, scientifically possible, physical, here, on Earth. There's probably people out there, probably advanced civilizations out there. It's my opinion, okay? I'm speculating. There's books, the Smoky God, the Iron Republic, the Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Wall. Fascinating stuff. Well, what do you call a piece of a plane, right? We live on an extended plane. What do you call a small piece of the plane?
A planet.
A planet. Plane, P. Planets. Scientifically possible. Scientifically possible. So let's just talk about words for a second. So this is the Arctic circle. So everything inside of this circle, we'll call that the Arctic ring. And then this circle, everything outside of it is the Antarctic ring. Okay, Antarctica out here, Arctic here. So speed it up here. So if I'm standing in here, what is the sun anywhere inside this circle? What is the sun doing? It's arcing around me. The arc tick of the clock. If I'm standing out here, it's not arcing around me, it's antarcing. The Antarctic. I believe Antarctic means not north also. Words have so much meaning. More questions?
Ali's got a question there. I don't know if she wants to ask it herself or for me to jump in.
Go ahead.
If she unmutes, I'll know that she wants to ask it, and if she doesn't unmute, then I'll ask it for her. But she's said there, she's asked there, has anybody ever tried remote viewing beyond the ice wall?
So that's a great question, and I believe I've seen some examples of remote viewing, very interesting stuff. But however, it depends on your worldview, right? It depends on what you believe. If you believe you live on a ball, you're going to remote view a ball. Well, let me explain. Okay, so if we go back to let's go back to the pond theory. Let's just load for a second. Where is it? Come on, there it goes. So we're here, okay? Let's say we're living right in here. And we have our little sun here, right? So if you travel away from our sun, as I showed you with the sun fade out video, the light disappears. You could be up and looking directly at the sun on the other side of the earth, across the plane, and you can't see it because the light just can't reach you. So you're looking at darkness. So if I got you in a ship, I don't want to call it a spaceship, we'll call it an advanced propulsion ship. And I say, okay, we're going to take off. We're going to go up a couple 100,000 feet, and we're going to go to the next planet. Okay? You're going to watch the light on the earth, which only lights up part of it. And the sun, it's going to get smaller and smaller. And you're going to see that the earth looks like a sphere, because everything looks like a sphere. Everything looks like a sphere. Every light. And you're going to fly, and you're going to look into the distance out here. You're going to see little speckles of light. And as you come closer, well, the light's going to get brighter and brighter. And all of a sudden, you're going to see land. It's going to look like a sphere. You're going to land, and you're going to think you landed on another planet. So if you're remote viewing, and you're pre-assuming the earth is a globe, you're going to see a globe. You can have a flat earther on that ship. He's going to see the plane disappearing, getting smaller, approaching another part of the plane that's lit up. The glober is going to see a ball and a ball. You're both seeing how you interpret things. Okay? Let me just show you a quick example of how things look like they're a ball. I have it. Where is it? What do I have that under? Any questions why I'm trying to find something that I'm trying to find? Where is it? Optics?
Yeah, David, I got a question.
Go ahead.
So, Polaris star, North Star, we always see. Is it Polaris? I don't know. The North Star, we always see directly overhead, doesn't move, always above the North Pole.
Yeah.
Why, when you're in the southern hemisphere?
Why can't you see it?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you should be able to.
But You're assuming you should. Just ask. Don't assume that you should. Just like it makes sense. First, this the sun or the moon?
You can't tell.
Is it a star? Is it a sphere?
It's a train.
It's a train. You watch my shows. And as it comes closer, all of a sudden we can see that it's not a sphere. So when you say all of those lights in the sky, they're spheres, no. We can scientifically prove that you can't see. First, before we start talking about Polaris, okay, how the heck can we see Polaris, right? So real quick, our sun is gigantic next to our Earth. So if the sun is a yoga ball, everybody knows how big a yoga ball is, right? You know the exercise balls, like this big? Give me a nod. Okay.
Yep.
How big would the Earth be next to that? Anybody? If the
I don't know how many times, but
well, no, it would be a BB or a marble, right? Something like that. It would. The scale is tiny. If the Earth was a marble, the sun is a yoga ball. So imagine I move the sun where it's a mile over your head at 12 noon. The surface of the sun is a mile over your head. The sun is going to fill the entire sky, right? Now we move it. How far away is the sun? Russ, do you know?
Supposedly 93 million miles.
So we move it 93 million miles, also known as 8 light minutes, and it's now the size of a coin held at arm's length. Russ, what happens if I double that distance? How much smaller does it get? Remember, it went.
Is it a quarter?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it went from the entire sky to the size of a coin. Now I'm going to double the distance. Starting out, now it's the size of a coin rather than the entire sky. Double the distance. My mind, I'd say it disappears, but let's be safe. You say a quarter. Let's even say a half. If we made it 8 times farther, well, it's a quarter and a quarter. It's so small your eye can't see it. 8 times farther is 1 light hour. Because it's 8 light minutes away. 8 times 8, 64. 1 light hour. Let's be safe. Make it 48 times farther than that. Your brain just short circuits because you can't fathom that. 48 times farther would be 2 light days. 1 hour times 48, 2 light days away. It is so far removed from the possibility to even be able to see it. Its angular size is hundreds of magnitudes too small to see. Well, I can't move the sun that far. Well, what can I do? Well, Polaris, which we're going to talk about in a second, they tell us it's 48 times bigger than the sun. Okay. So if I have the sun at 2 light days away, to make an equivalent viewing of Polaris, I'd have to make it 48 times farther. So we'll call that, we'll round up, 100 light days away. At 100 light days away, it is scientifically provably impossible to see Polaris. Its angular size with your naked eye is far too small. Far too small. At 100 light days away. That's not even a year. Let's round up to a light year. If it was a light year away, forget it. Just forget it. How far is Polaris? 433 light years away. Through scientifically impossible space vacuum, ignoring the inverse square law of light and brightness, because light fades out as it spreads out. As it goes away, you have to stretch that light over more and more space, just like they tell us the light coming in because of the tilt of the Earth, spreads out, and the seasons and the heat. Forget about it. Absolutely scientifically impossible. There's been an observatory, I think it was at 30 degrees south that has seen Polaris many times. That's impossible on a ball. The reason you can't see Polaris from the far south is because it's too far away. If you and I, Russ, were in a room, let's say we're in a nice room. It's got recessed lights in the ceiling, and they're all random patterns. Look, there's a bear, there's a bird, a duck. Okay, we're looking at it. Cool. Now, I expand the room to 10 miles wide, 10-foot high ceilings, 10 miles wide. I send you for a walk. Go. Right? A couple 100 yards away, I'm not even going to be able to see you, but let's let you go 5 miles. 5 miles away, you can't hear me. I can't see you. The ceiling and the floor have merged together at 100 yards. Let's call it 200 yards. Half a mile, whatever. You can't see any farther. So I call you on your cell phone and I say, look up. Do you see the duck, the bird, the bear, whatever it was? You go, no, I see a swan, a giraffe, and something else. We're looking at different stars. You can't see the stars above me? That room must be a sphere, right? Perspective. Everything gets lost in perspective. Now add some atmosphere in that room. That makes it worse.
So what do you think the various planets
I don't believe that there are any planets anywhere. I don't believe.
So do you believe at all in astrology?
Oh, astrology, absolutely. Now think about this. Mars is in retrograde. Everybody watch what you're doing. How the heck does a rock that can't even affect our tides, that's 30 million miles away, affect my business dealings or whatever it is, affect my life? That's nonsense. But then when we look at planets, like, what are planets, right? How could a rock, if you were on Mars and you looked at the sun would be very small because you're farther away. You have to believe that the sun is reflecting off of the dusty, dirty surface of Mars, just like the moon, and reflecting back to Earth, and it looks bright as a star. That makes absolutely no sense, right? So here is, where is Mars? One second. All right, Mars. So, right, NASA wants us to believe this is Mars, like a little selfie of the rover, right? And the light that's bouncing off of here goes all the way back to Earth and it looks like a star. Wouldn't it be kind of bright here? That makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. Here's what Mars really looks like through a P1000 camera. Does that look like a dusty, dirty ball? Or is that an energetic, sentient, living source here within the Earth system? You could not see planets. The brightness, right now, tonight, if you have a clear night, Jupiter will be in the sky. And with cheap binoculars or a zoom camera, you can see the little lights around it. They're brighter than any star. They're as bright as the sun, just smaller. How does Jupiter, farther than Mars, with a distant tiny sun, that distant tiny sun is lighting up that non-reflective gassy surface, and it's reflecting all the way back to Earth, and we see it bright as the sun? That's brainwashing. That's absolute and total nonsense brainwashing, a lifelong of brainwashing. I used to laugh at astrology. Oh my God, you believe that? You're ridiculous. Astronomy is the real thing, right? Astronomy is complete and total made up nonsense. Astrology is the real science. They say millionaires, have, what is it? Billionaires have astrologers. Okay. All of the stuff that's going on in the world, they love their astrology. They use it all the time. The real science of this earth is astrology. The reason that they're hiding all of this from us because they don't want us knowing the true power that we have. We are super powerful, spiritual, energetic beings here on earth. They don't want us living to our potential. What do they tell you in school? How much of your brain do you use? Russ, how much of your brain do you use and how much of your DNA do you use? According to what they tell you in school.
think your brain's something like 5%, isn't it? And your DNA is like
It's
2%.
like, exactly, right? Nonsense, absolute and total nonsense. But that's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that lightning struck created an amoeba. The amoeba goes, oh, I'm alive. I'm going to create more cells. And then I'm going to turn into a tadpole. And then I'm going to turn into a frog. And I'm going to climb out of the water. I'm going to turn into a monkey. And then I'm going to have a retarded baby and it's a human. Okay. Right. That's what they want you to believe. The Big Bang is literally conception. They can't even make up any new stories. They say, well, over billions and billions and billions of years, the same thing that happens in 9 months. First, there's a Big Bang. And then there's a spark from the creator that creates life and a single cell organism. And then it multiplies in its cells. And then it kind of looks like a tadpole. And then it kind of looks like a frog a little bit and a little monkey. And then the waters break and then you have a baby. It's the same story. Credit to Owen Benjamin for that analogy. It's the same story. They want us to believe that we're spinning out of control on a speck, insignificant in a godless or distant God universe where we have no power, where government needs to control us, where we're running out of electricity, we're running out of food, we're running out of everything. And we're in the matrix. The matrix is a prison for your mind. The globe is a prison for your mind. If you believe you live on a globe and we're running out of everything, and there's not enough food, and we're overpopulated, and global warming, and nuclear bombs, you're living in a low vibrational state where you're not ever going to even come close to your true potential. They've poisoned us. They've calcified our pineal glands. They've stuck stuff in our body if you're willing to let that happen. And they're literally keeping us sick and stupid and ripping our power from us. The truth is we are at the center of creation. Nobody has control over you except in your imagination. That's it. Nobody is allowed to do anything to you unless you agree. Now, they can put you in a situation where you're like, oh, I might as well do that. It's going to be the easiest thing. I really want to go to that football game, or, I got to do this. And, I can't get the job unless I give them my credentials and I give 40% back of what I make, to the government, right? They want you believing all of this nonsense because a good little slave, right? In school, math, what do they teach you? Accounting, geometry, algebra, right? It has a tiny bit of real life use, but in reality, it makes you a good little worker slave. They don't teach you vortex mathematics. They don't teach you about sacred geometry. They don't teach you about our true history. In the 1800s, civilization was far more advanced than we are now. They've dumbed us down. You guys ever watched a documentary called Idiocracy? Write it down. It's on Netflix, right? It used to be a comedy, but now it's a documentary. Okay? Worth the watch. Watch it with the family.
While we're writing that down quickly, Ali's got another question there. And she's asking you if man-made satellites actually exist, or do you think they're fake? Well,
The idea, what I used to love when I'm down in the Caribbean, look up at the sky and look, oh, there's a satellite, right? Do you think you could see a Volkswagen Bug at 10 miles away? Oh, no. How about at 250 miles away? Right? Again, we have the same problem. Lights in the sky moving, they're telling us that they're satellites, right? And the whole idea of satellites is absolute insanity, right? If you look at where is it? The image of satellites, I have it here. We're supposed to believe that where am I going? Here it is. We're supposed to believe that we're spinning, corkscrewing, flying through infinite space, and somehow these satellites are mirroring all of our positions, right? There's no photos of satellites anywhere. Right? Google satellites, right? We have to believe that all these satellites are here. Remember, we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. So you have a geosynchronous satellite that wants to stay right above this same piece of land. It has to spin and match the spin of the Earth. Well, this Earth is not only spinning, it's orbiting, speeding up and slowing down, and it's flying through the sky. And that satellite is mimicking all of that, right? That satellite is mimicking all of those motions and never loses itself. Okay. So when, years ago before satellites, when they talked about these balloon programs, now NASA's like, hey, it might be easier just to put things on balloons rather than put them in space. That's what they're talking about now, because they've always been doing that. NASA admits there's over a dozen different satellite balloon programs where they're launching these things. There's tens of thousands of these things floating all over the world. And they crash and people find them, right? They literally crash. Whoops. That's the wrong video. Is it? They crash in different parts of the world and they're quickly scooped up, but everybody has a high def camera in their pocket, so they're getting filmed. So that's what satellites are. But people think, oh, well, how do I make phone calls, right? How all this communications, all of the communications of the world, 99 point something percent are done with undersea cables, which also prove the Earth is flat. Because if the Earth wasn't, there'd be a cable from Santiago over to Australia, but there isn't. It goes all the way up and all the way down, all the way up and all the way down. Makes no sense whatsoever, right? Satellites are, if you really look into it farther, you'll find that they're fake. People go, what about the Himawari 8 satellite? The Japanese one, it takes every 10 minutes a picture of the Earth with real-time data, real-time weather. Well, we had a whistleblower that leaked an FTP server from NASA to us. And it showed how they take all of the radar data from all of the radar stations, they put it into the server, and they wrap it around the blue marble, right? So let me just fast forward here. So this is the server right here. And all of these folders are all by day. They go on for years and years. There's thousands and thousands of them. And it shows every photo and it shows how they make it. Here's a heat map of the world. And then they get the weather data from, this is weather data. And they literally wrap it on a globe. So here it is. They're wrapping it on a globe. And then they put a Terminator line on it. And we found all of these images. So there's no denying this. And so this is an actual picture from the Himawari 8. The question is, how do we see the clouds that are over here if this is the real picture? Because it's in the dark. We have the image, right? We have it. Here it is. This is it before they finished it, right? And these images come they're like 15 minutes off of real time. Well, people say, well, they need 15 minutes to put it together. AI can do this in less than a second. Okay, less than a second. They can take real data and wrap it around. And this is absolute 100% proof that the Himawari 8, the #1 satellite globe proof of the world, is a lie. 100% lie. So
there's a follow-up question there while you're looking for that. Ali saying, so Elon Musk's Starlink system is no problem.
So what is Elon Musk's Starlink system? Starlink system? Well, it's not working. And they're already talking about it's going to be sabotaged by China or Russia or whoever, right? It's nonsense. Well, people have seen those lights in the sky. Again, the size of his satellites and the distance they are impossible to see with the naked eye. So what are we seeing? Are we seeing drones? Are we seeing balloons? Are we seeing a projection? I personally think it's a projection. And they're doing it just to make people believe this scenario that they're wrapping us up to. They're warping us up to this major scenario. Maybe they're going to switch. Oh, everyone's using this now. All the world's internet is by that. And then all of a sudden the Russians take it out. Now we're at war. It's all nonsense. It's all a big theater, a big stage show.
Where do you think the projection comes from? Is it from the North Pole? The middle.
That's a great question. There's a great video by a Freemason who is showing how the Earth works, and he basically says at the center of the Earth, the north, that's where all of the stars are projected from. I don't know. I haven't seen it myself, but it sure makes a lot of sense. But again, anything above where we can reach or beyond, as far as out south we can go, is speculation. But there are things that we can look at, like flight paths. Here's Hawaii. On a globe, these flights should be south of Hawaii, but they're all north of Hawaii. They're all north of Hawaii. Okay? If you look at them on a globe, none of these flights go south of Hawaii, but on a globe, it makes absolute perfect sense. Right? Guys, there was an emergency landing. This one just happened. And going from New York to Auckland, New Zealand. And the emergency happened right about here, and they went to Fiji. Wait a minute. Auckland is actually almost closer. If the same distance or maybe closer, why the hell would they go to Fiji? Right? But if you look at it on a flat Earth, here's New York, here's Auckland, there's Fiji. Fiji, right there, straight line. Right? There's been a whole bunch of emergency landings that absolutely prove the Earth is not a globe. For example, this one, Chicago to Doha, emergency, they went 1,000 or 1,500 miles out of their way to Moscow. Somehow they got there in 15 minutes. Teach me about that, okay? And they landed, well, look, Moscow's right on the flight path on a flat Earth map. Must be a coincidence, right? Must be. Right? Well, that only happened once. Maybe if it happened a second time, Well, here's another one. They went to Calgary. This is the globe. This is what the seatbacks maps showed. Emergency. Oh, let's go to Calgary. Okay. Well, look, Calgary is right on the flight path on the flat Earth map again. Why is that? It's either that they had some excuse. Well, we got to go there because the airport's traffic, crowded, flight paths, whatever, or maybe the Earth is flat. I don't know. Okay. Again, Moscow. Look where Moscow is from this flight path. Way the hell out of the way. They magically appear there in no time flat. Oh, Moscow is right on that same line on a flat Earth map.
Do you think all these pilots have just been sworn to secrecy or
no?
Whatever?
Pilots don't know. By the way, the Qantas pilots, the ones that are doing all these southern flights, they all know. We've had them tell us that they talk about it amongst themselves, but they don't talk about it publicly because they'll be fired. We had a KLM pilot woman who was she came on Globebusters a couple of years ago and showed us how the flight routes work and that it's flat, and she was grounded the next day and fired. Okay, or essentially fired. She was grounded. Another one way out of the way, directly on a flat Earth map. So these are just memes. If you believe me, you're crazy, right? You need to go verify this stuff yourself. This guy did it for you. Eddie, 16 emergency landings proving flat Earth, free PDF online, or you can go to lulu.com and order the book. It's amazing. Did all the work, all the newspaper articles, the flight plans, everything, and it's all there for you to verify. And then when you start looking at regular flight paths, let me ask you a question, Ross. So here we have our globe, and our equator goes right around here. Okay, so the top half is the northern hemisphere, bottom half southern hemisphere. Okay, we can pick out of a hat. We have all 10,000 different airports, whatever number there are, and we pick any two out of a hat that are in. I can't hear you. You're muted. Any two out of a hat. So north to north, any two locations, north to north, you're a pilot. Would you ever have to go below the equator to connect to any two northern locations? No. And guess what? Nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. Okay? Same thing in the south. If you're going from a southern location to another southern location, nobody ever goes into the north. However, that's not what happens in reality. Right? This blue line is the equator, and they go all the way up to Singal and then all the way back down to Johannesburg. Why didn't they just fly over here? Much shorter. Well, look at it on a flat Earth map. Cross the equator once, cross the equator twice. It's a straight line. about this one? Goes all the way up to Los Angeles. Why the hell does it go all the way to Los Angeles and back down here? It could have just gone across. Well, look, here's the flight. Bam, bam.
What's the distance difference on that? Do you know?
Well, here's the thing. The distance is, people say, well, going from Santiago to Australia, that's like twice the distance, right? Well, here's the question. The flight that goes direct from Santiago to Santiago to Auckland or to Australia. I'm spaced now for a second. The direct flight only has one type of airplane that can fly it. There's only four military registered pilots. The plane has 7 layers, six or seven layers of heat resistant paint. Wait, what? Why does that have heat resistant paint? Okay. When you're flying in the air, you have no idea how fast you're going. Airplane flies like 500, 550 miles an hour. You're going 1,000 miles an hour and you're high up out in the ocean. You would never know it. Okay.
Ed, what can I ask you a question about? Fuel that you put in. Do you think they fuel up the aircraft, or do you think what do you think they run on?
So you're asking me about the no fuel thing?
Yeah.
It's a great question. I'm in the middle. There's no possible way that flights use the amount of fuel that they're telling us. There's no possible way they can hold that amount of fuel, in my opinion. And if you go next time you're on an airplane, close your eyes and use your senses. Listen. Do you hear a combustion engine or are you hearing an electric engine? Now, my best guess is they use some fuel to add some power when they're taking off. But I think when they get up high, that they're just using, they're combusting air. They're using these frequency engines, like a tuning fork, and they're using that to travel great distances. But the problem is they can't let us know that, because if we know that, then people are going to go, well, I want to go here. I want to fly over here. I want to fly, right? But if you think that you have to go and stop and get fuel. Now, do some planes use fuel? 100%. Small jets, private jets, they're using fuel. But these giant, A380s or whatever, they're not using nearly the amount of fuel that they're telling us. No possible chance.
No, I was listening to Caleb and Derek the other day on I think 5D reality, and they were saying it's a nonsense that you can't physically put that amount of fuel in an aircraft wing, and they bank and they turn and
Right. Just try carrying a tub of water. There's a video of a military plane where they're bringing fuel in a tank. It was carrying a lot of fuel, and the way they had to strap it down, and when the plane moves, how it literally shakes the plane. There's no friggin' way. No way. And then also the smell, the amount of fumes that you would be smelling at major airports, the amount of spills, right? They're putting they fuel the plane from underneath the wing. So I've seen them connect the thing. They're putting something in there. But you ever watch a swimming pool fill up, right? They don't use a hose that big. I mean, it would take forever, right? But they fuel these planes up in 5 or 10 minutes. It would blow a hole through that wing, in my opinion. Okay. And then I was in Costa Rica, where it's kind of like an outdoor airport there. And I watched my plane land from New York. They kicked the passengers off and they put us on it and never fueled it. So are you telling me it carried twice the amount of fuel that it needed? Well, the fuel is cheaper in New York. It's a New York-based plane. Interesting. Where's the never-ending line of fuel trucks pulling into airports like Kennedy and other major airports? I don't see it. I don't see any fuel drips. I don't see, when you fuel up an empty airplane, a big empty tank, where's all those fumes going? Where are they going? I don't see any fume capture devices, nothing. When I was a kid, they were talking about, I saw on the news, they were talking about I think they called it a ramjet, and how the military is experimenting that when they get a plane up to speed, it could burn air. It could use the air. And then that story disappeared. That's it. Heard about it once, and then it was gone. We can't let the people know about this. Okay? No chance. And the amount of fuel that they use also, think about this. You know how they say, they don't want us flying anymore because of global warming, another thing that is made up. And they want us, not flying. Well, if you look at the amount of fuel per mile an airplane gets, and if there was just 10 people on the airplane, it is far more fuel efficient per mile per person than any other vehicle. But there's not 10 people on an airplane. There's 300 people on an airplane. Okay? If everyone flew on airplanes instead of drove, we'd have less carbon pollution, if that's a thing. Everything is just everything. Our whole lives are lies. And when you unplug from the heliocentric matrix and start seeing the world for where it is, you have a much better chance of living to your potential.
I see that we're actually nearly 9:15, and technically you'd normally only do 1 hour slots. So I'm absolutely so grateful that you've managed to come on and stay with us for this length of time, because not only have we talked about flat Earth, but the fuel thing, for instance, opens up so many other thought processes and so on. So
here I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you're saying, and then I'll tell you. Sorry.
Yeah, Russ has got a question to ask, and then I've got one from Ali. Yeah.
Okay, can I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course.
Yeah. So, actually, Big Bang Theory is a complete load of rubbish. I think probably everybody here acknowledges that. What's the equivalent that goes with flat Earth theory? Because the whole way the sun moves and the moon moves and everything else is pretty complicated.
Let me ask you a question. If you saw let's say you came to New York and you saw the Empire State Building, is there a builder? Can you assume there was a builder?
Not me personally, but I can assume other buildings that I've seen go up.
All right. Well, any building you see, you could pretty much safely assume there was a builder. It's intelligently designed. It wasn't a couple rocks crashing into each other, creating a giant building, right? No matter how many times you slam a 747 into the ground, it doesn't turn into a Mac laptop, okay? No matter how many times you throw all of the raw ingredients together for a computer, that it builds itself. So we live in a world that's intelligently designed. There is an intelligence that built this world. And if you ask me, when he built this when the world was created by the creator, that's as far as I'm taking it, he didn't just build it and throw some people down there and go, good luck figuring out free energy and building yourself a home. I think he threw down some massive infrastructure, like crystal palaces or whatever. And all of that has been taken from us. All of that knowledge has been taken from us, been hidden, and we are trapped. We are willingly trapped in this pond where they don't want us to live to our potential. There are some evil beings, some of them based in your country, that are running this world, okay? And they don't want us living to our potential.
You happy with that, Ross, or do you want to come back with a supplementary?
No, I tend to agree with all of that, to be honest. But it's I think, yeah. I mean, the only question on that in my mind is whether, I mean, the creator could have done whatever they wanted to do. They could have created it as a global. They could have created it as a flat. It doesn't matter, because there's somebody there. The builders could have done what they wanted.
It could have created as whatever, but let's look at physical science and let's look at everything that we can test. Large bodies of water at rest lay flat. High pressure next to low pressure equalizes. You can't have a vacuum with gas balls burning in it. They tell us this nebula that we see is gas and dust turning into stars. How do you have gas and dust in a vacuum? I mean, they tell us absolute nonsense on a scale so big that you can't fathom it, right? 1 trillion, 31,000 years, 1 trillion seconds is 12 zeros. They even say their cosmology is off by 10 to the 120th power, right? 12 zeros. If I added one more zero to that, you can't fathom how big that is. They're adding 108 more zeros to that. And that's how far off cosmology is. They're telling us everything. And people go, oh, 120th power. Well, I don't know what that means. I'm going to go watch Netflix. Okay. They distract us with nonsense, right? They distract us and they don't want us to see what this world is. That, I only use 10% of my brain and 2% of my DNA, Well, if you say that to yourself, well, that's how actually what's going to happen, right? They don't know about the power of your thought. They know. We don't know. The power of thought, the power of intention, the power of the words. Like if you say, I'm going to lose weight because I don't want to be fat, you're going to get fat. Okay. Because that's what your mind is hearing. It doesn't know negative or positive, whatever you focus on. Okay. So you got to look at things. You got to understand that your thoughts aren't stuck on this globe. Your thoughts go on, they go out. Okay. This place is amazing. And we are the beneficiaries of this creation.
Thank you. You just mentioned that some of these baddies are in our country. While we've been on air, I've just had a message sent through to me. I haven't had a chance to verify it, that our King Charles is now in hospital.
What a surprise.
Very quickly ask Ali's question, because I think it's appropriate to everybody. She's asking if you have some sort of version of your talk, and do you have a children's version that would be appropriate?
So I have this app. It's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. It bypasses YouTube's algorithm. I have the Flat Earth app challenge, which is if you think the Earth is a globe, get the app, watch the daily video each day for 2 weeks. At the end of that, if you have one proof of the globe, send it to me and you win 3 Bitcoins. That's 60 grand. Okay. 60 grand today. But before you do, you have to hit the question mark and make sure it's not answered in the frequently asked questions. So like, hey, what about ships over the horizon? If I click that, up comes videos that YouTube doesn't want you to see that will really explain way better than I did why ships disappear over the horizon. And then you can go out and verify it yourself, because that's what I did. Okay. So this bypasses YouTube's algorithms. It's amazing, right? And I'm getting to the kids part. There's all sorts of other stuff. All my videos here. Look, Caleb has his own friggin' channel here. Caleb, he's the best. He's amazing. I'm actually doing a speech with him at the the True Earth Mount Meru Summit. I don't know if you guys know about it. We're having a summit with great speakers. Peggy Hall, David Avocado Wolf, myself, Jeranism. I'm doing a talk with Caleb, and it's on November 11th. But you can find that actually on the app if you go right here. Bam. It's actually opening up. There it is. The Mount Meru Summit, right? November 11th. Go to that, learn about health and the world that we live in. And it's the website is easy. If you have the app, just click on it. But it's True Earth Mount Meru Summit. So it's TEMMS.live. True Earth Mount Meru Summit. TEMMS.live. And if you use the code FEDAVE50, you get 50% off. Okay? FEDAVE50 or Caleb50. You get 50% off. All right. But that's not what I want to show you. I want to show you at the homeschool section. There's a series of books by a guy that we call Conspiracy Music Guru. And he did a series of videos that are phenomenal. These books are great for adults, but they're really for kids. They're the video in a book, and they teach you about all of the stuff in music form. The thing is, kids listen to the music. If you go back to the more resources page and you click this guy right here, That'll bring you to all of his videos. And kids love these videos. Adults love the videos, but the kids love them. They memorize the song in their head. And then when they read the book with all of the facts, they're hearing the words in their head and they're able to read much faster. They're able to see the words, hear the words, and read the words. These things are gold, these books, for teaching kids truth and how to read. I'm waiting to see when there's a 1-year-old reading, because I think it could happen with these books and the songs. Do 1-year-olds read? I don't think so.
Yeah, I've got thanks coming in already for you. I've got Malcolm saying, thank you, Dave, for giving up your time tonight. What a brilliant night. So much to absorb from the presentation. Lots of questions still to answer. Really enjoyed this.
Thank you.
So that's just...
Thank you. The app, let me tell you, the app is $3. And you have it for life. There's an $11 subscription for the year, which you can actually... you can get around paying the $11, but it's $11 a year. Basically, you're buying me a margarita and forgetting to tip the bartender. But the $11 makes it so you can reach out to other flat earthers near you, right? These are all the flat earthers that are right around me, and I can message them. I can click on a dot. I can look at their profile. I can send them a message. I can send out a radius message, right? If I set my radius to 50 kilometers and I click the radius, I have, oops, it didn't load yet. There we go. 460 people. I could say, hey, having a meetup at the park at Joe's Bar and Grill, Saturday, 2 p.m. Bam, everyone comes. And every one of these dots are amazing people, best friends, significant others, employers, employees. They're amazing, right? And if you think flat Earth is dying, if I click this button right here, there's 77,000, almost 78,000 people. This gives me a world map view. And here we are in the UK. There's flat earthers everywhere here. Okay?
Can you find David?
What's that?
Can you find me on there, David? I'm on there.
You're a blue dot. So let me see. So we'll tap the flag. I'll type United Kingdom. And there we go. And it brings us over. And so where are you on this map? What area?
South, near, down.
Down here, where I'm pointing, down here?
Coast, near the
Further down.
coast. You need down the coast.
Further down.
Further down. Hold
straight
on.
down. Yeah.
So hold on, let it load. So where are you? Down here?
No. Sort of near the first box. There's a box there above your
Right
finger.
here?
Yeah, to the right of the box. So yeah.
To this right?
Yeah. Somewhere.
Well, let me just see. Do you have any referrals? What color dot are you?
Oh, well, they're all blue, aren't they?
Well, no, we have orange dots are new people, and then
No, I've
as
been on a while.
yeah. So you're in here. You're one of these dots, but I can click on a dot and see who it is. And if they have a profile filled out, I could look at their profile. But I just upgraded the messenger service. You need to update your app if you haven't done it in the last couple of days. But the other thing is, here's the referral board. These are people that refer the app, and people use the referral code. Caleb at the top is smoking everybody, but you can use your referral points to buy the subscription if you don't want to pay the $11. Okay. And here are the different levels. So you can customize your referral code. Mine is DITRH, right? And this is what color your dot will be depending on how many you have. So Caleb's already up here. Crazy. And lot more to come. But in the app, check this out. Ready? We're gonna do a quick little test right here. So we have these rooms, and I have a beta test group, right? And I'm gonna start a video call. Okay, look, here I am. You can see the magic is gone, right? And we'll just see who jumps on here, because this is just a random test group, and then other people will start jumping on here, and you can create groups and you can talk to people. We have Flattoberfest coming up. Here comes somebody. Hey, I'm live on a show. I'm talking, and we got Dennis coming in. Where are you located? Stockholm. Nice. And so look, I'm on a show here. and you could just randomly see people. You can do stuff, and it's absolutely super fun. What do you guys think of the app? Thumbs up?
Yeah, great.
Love
Well,
it.
there's already a comment in the box there from Russ, your opponent on tonight's show,
Here we
saying
go.
Brilliant presentation, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Look,
and
wait,
app
look,
looks
Ian,
great.
light your lighter, Ian. Ian's always sitting in his dark shed, and I tell him he has to light a lighter when he talks because we can't see him. There he is. There he is. The man himself. You ever think of
But he's
getting light in
forgetting
that
he's
shed?
on mute.
No, you can't hear him because it's coming out here and stuff.
No,
All right.
it's because he's on mute. Oh yeah,
I'm going to hang up on you guys. Thanks, guys.
yeah.
So super fun. Great way to find people. And by the way, the friend finder is every dot on here is somebody that you can be best friends with, significant other, whatever. Every dot on here is a better match for you as a friend, as a significant other, than any dating service, any other matching service could possibly do. Because everyone on here is awake and aware of all the things we're aware of. Hey, before I forget, the airplane, the fuel thing, all the other stuff, stoplookthink.com. Stoplookthink.com. Everything is there that used to be on YouTube.
The app is absolutely superb. It's the best repository for flat Earth knowledge that we have. I know you're my friend, Dave, but I use it all the time now because it's easier to send them the links to the videos to look at them themselves than to have a 6-hour-long conversation. And I can just say, look, watch that. It's 5 minutes. And then it's so simple. And,
right. You pull up the video and then you send them the link to that video or to the whole playlist and say, here's the question you just asked. Go check it out. Or you can just send them a simple image, right? We have great images. Like, look, you believe this? You believe that this is happening? And describe it, what's going on, that these are the satellites around the Earth. You can just laugh. People go, I believe in the moon landing. It's like, okay, so you'd be happy with me putting you in this thing and submerging you in a lake. Okay. Can I, Russ, can I put you in there and submerge you in a lake? Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Complete and total nonsense. This is ridiculous. If fifth graders entered this as a project for a fort, they would probably get a D.
Yeah, that'd be a Blue Peter model, as we'd say in the UK.
Yeah. But Russ, I'm sorry for picking on you. I know that the moon landing is fake, but the moon isn't a place. So get it out of your mind that we went there. So there you go. And what else is good, which is very underplayed on the app. If you tap the weather right here, okay, it brings you to dark sky, which is phenomenal. It's literally the best weather site. No ads. You can get all sorts of details about the day. It's the best weather app ever, and everyone needs a weather app. You got to figure out what you're wearing, where you're going, and that alone is worth $3 a month. But it's only $3 one time forever. Okay, so there you go.
So I take it it's $11 if you want to connect with people, or it's $3 if you just want to isolate yourself.
You can still see what's going on there, and but you won't be able to message them because that actually costs me money when you message and stuff. So the app was one of the best apps in the App Store before I had the friend finder on it. Okay, before I had all the stuff on it. People say it's worth it just for the daily video. Here's the archive of the videos. The frequently asked questions, excuse me. It's worth it for all of those things. Everyone says I should raise it, charge $100 for the app. I'm like, no, $3. $3.
It's mine.
And you can find it all at flatearthdave.com. There it is. Nice
It's
job.
mine.
There we are.
Flatearthdave.com.
I've already got it. Yeah. I've already got it.
There you go.
And that one.
Well,
Yeah.
we've got 3 here
And
already.
Sarah's got it already.
Yeah, we're in Ian's group. We've already formed a social group, haven't we, Ian?
Yes, we have. Sarah and Mary come to our Flat Earth Social. They're absolutely wonderful people, Dave. They're really lovely ladies. And they are proper Flat Earthers now. There is no going back for them. But they've jumped off the cliff. They're in trouble.
It says something that every day, many people become flat earthers and nobody becomes a glober. less and less globers in this world. Flat earthers are taking over. People that are awake and aware are very sexy, by the way. Very sexy.
Well, we've got lots of thank yous in here for you, Dave. I'm absolutely delighted that Ian talked you into coming and talking to us. I think there'll be more apps appearing in the UK very soon.
Russ, you need to get the app and just watch the daily video each day. Just watch the daily video. And then guess what? When you're done watching that video, the next one that comes up is not a Google suggestion, which is nonsense. You Google flat earth, you're wasting your time. You're going to get fed propaganda, right? So you'll watch. And then I guarantee you in about 2 weeks or less, you'll send me a message and go, you mother effer. And now I'm a flat earther.
Lastly, Dave, before we lose you completely, you've recorded this. Will you then send me the link of your recording so that I can pop it on our program?
100%. I'll have it up in an hour or two.
Yeah, it takes a wee while to process, but
right. Whatever your email address that was in the reservation, I'll send it there.
That's perfectly good. That's ideal. Thank you very, very much, Dave. I really appreciate. And Ian, thanks very much for introducing us to David and talking him into coming along tonight. Well, everybody's thoroughly enjoyed it. The comments are on the chat if you can see them. And it's been brilliant.
I told you, didn't I?
The last thing I want to say is, you guys all know the world is going down a really dark, scary path of incredible insanity. So why am I talking about flat Earth when they're talking about fake nuclear war and all sorts of stuff? It's because this is the one that they use to make us believe all the nonsense. When you wake up to flat Earth, you disconnect from all of it. You guys all are aware nuclear bombs don't exist, right?
Yeah.
You're all aware?
Yeah.
Russ?
Yeah.
Russ is aware.
Yeah.
All right, Russ, you're halfway there, buddy. So whenever you hear, threats of nuclear devastation, Russia, this and that, you can laugh. Go, that's a clown, right? You can laugh and you become healthier because you're laughing rather than having every cell in your body be afraid, okay? They want us in fear. They want us sick. They want us weak. They want us stupid. They want us not living to our potential. And that's why I talk about flat Earth. So everyone go out there and wake people up any way you want. But the simplest way is to gift them the app. Gift them the app. Let me buy you the app instead of a shot of tequila, right? It'll save me half the price and it'll make you a smarter person and save the world. So there you go.
That's an excellent finish line. I think we should all copy that out. There's more comments coming in for you, Dave. It's been an absolute brilliant night. Thank you very, very much for your time and your enthusiasm and your fun information and your app.
Well, you know what? One more thing.
Go on. We're all still here.
Go already.
Oh. Is that tequila in that bottle, is it?
No, it's vodka. It's not. I just choked on my own. I swallowed down the wrong pipe. Now I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say the reason I'm so enthusiastic and love this is because it's true, right? This is the most amazing thing. Let me ask you a question. You became a flat earther. What's the one thing you want to do every day consistently? What's the one thing you want to do? When you're a flat earther, everyone wants to wake up their friends. They want to wake up their family. They want to wake up strangers, right? Flat Earth is such a truth that we all want to share it because that's the best thing. When you share flat Earth, you're unplugging people from the matrix. You're literally Morpheus unplugging people from the matrix. Because when you unplug them, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, they can see and they take their power back.
That's actually very profound because a lot of us are trying to wake up people about the scandemic. And to do that, we're frightening them, especially if already taken the product, as they say. Whereas waking them with flat Earth doesn't frighten anybody. It just informs them and wakens them up, and it makes them. Whereas we
100%. So this is the one. I woke people up to all of the other nonsense going on in the world. I had a thing called Exposing the Big Three here in America, worldwide, but New York, Connecticut school marathon in Boston. And I figured, wow, those are so easy to expose. And people just go right back to sleep. You wake someone up to flat Earth, They never forget it, and it just builds momentum. So we now have enough people in Flat Earth on my app alone. And by the way, there's far more than people that have my app. If everybody just woke up one person a week, we'd be done this year. It would be over. Okay. It would multiply so darn fast, but I think you can wake up people every single day. Right. And if you just find your little thing that works for you, like, hey, look, start, the moon landing, you show them the picture. Okay. You take the moon landing off the table, and then you show them boats over the horizon. You show them sunsets, perspective, whatever it is. And you wake people up. And then once they wake up, you say, here, just watch the daily video each day. And then that just keeps reinforcing. And it spawns more and more questions. The more questions you have and the more time you go looking in the right place, the faster you become, very informed. So there it is. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I can't say it often enough, but many thanks, Dave. And I'll email you a list of the comments that we've got for your thanks. You can frame them, you can stick them on the wall, you can hang them in your toilet if you like. But we're all very, very grateful that you came along and
all right.
Give us your enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
guys.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.